我々を司る天の意志にこの世代の戦いはどう見え
Nah, they're probably thinking about what to do for the next collab booster pack. You already had your chance. Continuing right from the last episode, Kizaka had begun her search for Tsurugi, and fortunately for her, she wouldn't have to do it alone, as Hayatemaru had been sent to find her. Huh. A magical girl on a giant ninja bird. Yeah, I should probably cut back on this stuff. Oh well, just go back to good old reliable. Back with the former Red Eye of Light, he was talking things out with the spirit of Vargas. And after confirming that his glory eye was indeed gone, Tsurugi began to ponder if this was actually a blessing in disguise. After all, by mostly viewing things through only one eye, he did appropriately become a little tunnel vision when trying to take down Yaiba. There was something that Surger had made him realize after hearing the stories of Vargas. As while he was indeed fighting against people who are making others suffer, the thing is that those sorts of conflicts aren't just black and white, or light and dark in this case. Often, there were just a lot of shades of gray, so it wasn't all that cut and clear. Those don't look like tears to me, Tsurugi. But yeah, moved by his words, Vargas decided to fully reveal himself. Okay, these shark clones are just becoming a dime a dozen at this point. Oh, and this also caught the attention of Gardos, who just so happened to have the same skin color as the deceased Sword Eye. Gee, I wonder if there's some sort of connection between these two. Anyway, he ended up tasking Rivore with trying to find Tsurugi before Kizakura could, as he could sense he was in the alchemist's ancestral homeland of Stoke. And we would follow up on this stuff in the next episode. Back with Tsurugi and Vargas, he wanted to test the card battler's skills by jousting with him. Yeah, even Tsurugi pointed out that he was just a weeb who didn't actually know how to use a sword, and didn't want to end up like a guy who tries to take on the cops with one.
I'm telling you right now. Don't.
Fortunately, he figured a workaround. Using a sword as a sort of skateboard. Yeah, should figure that Atlas isn't all that creative anymore. But yeah, through the power of anime logic, Tsurugi quote-unquote defeated the old Sword Eye, and thus Vargas praised his skills and revealed what he had been protecting this whole time. Meanwhile, the rest of the Sword Eyes of Light were finishing up their repairs on Bringer, with Samohung even making a few improvements in the process.
Fuck you, asshole.
Suo also managed to confirm that Bringer had the Red Eye of Light. At the same time, Kizakura had regrouped with her allies. She explained how they needed to find Tsurugi before the hourglass ran out. Gosh, curse you, well-made novelty toys! Also, even if that hourglass wasn't magical, I'm pretty sure clocks are a thing in this fantasy world, including in Yaiba's castle. In any case, they needed to find Tsurugi, who at the time had been shown the Red Sword Brave of Darkness. Yep, Tsurugi had become the bearer of the Red Eye of Darkness. Then no, I don't mean that particular dragon. But yeah, I think this was a great twist. I mean, for one thing, this has been a major theme of the series that they've been building up throughout. That being the idea that there's always more than one side to a story, and that if you really want to understand a person or situation, like with the Queen being a double agent and everything, then you sometimes have to look at things from their perspective or eyes, get it? Plus, you know, it's just kind of badass to have the heroes gain a power of darkness. Hey, I don't make the rules. Like seriously, the whole dark is not evil thing is an interesting trope that I actually really like to see when it's done well. Look at you, Kingdom Hearts, and how wishy-washy you are with that plot point. Anyway, of course with his new eye and sword came a new deck, and oh hey look, a new starter deck that just so happened to come out around the same time as this episode originally. Seriously though, shrewd marketing tactics having your main character use the new deck you're trying to sell to everyone. And of course, like any good TCG player, he wanted to immediately playtest it, talented, and who's to say Ghost can't play? Appropriately, he also got a pretty sweet Eye of Darkness outfit to go with the new persona. Though before the fight, Vargas also revealed that someone had taken his sword eye before it was properly inherited by Hakua. Again, I wonder if this ties back to a certain other tan blonde dude. Anyway, after Vargas seemed to brick his opening hand, Tsurugi was able to open with some easy attacks from his Dark Dino Chusaws, who had the noble effect that they could also be treated as green spirits, which of course would play into things a little later in the battle. Though thanks to his attacks, Vargas had enough cores to summon his key spirit, which again, like with Surger, was a callback to Yuki Momose with his Yggdrasil, which had the effect that it could bounce spirits back to the opponent's hand. From there, he later upgraded to the Grand Woden by tributing it, which yeah, is kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Tributes, though nowhere near as prevalent in this game. But yeah, thanks to that, he managed to make somewhat of a comeback after a rough start. Thus, Tsurugi had to break out his new ace cards. What is it about dinosaurs and card games that let them blend so well? Unlike the Shining Dragon, that kind of relied on swarming tactics through its effect that let it summon its own sword, Dark Tyrannosaura had a much more selfish kit that could allow it to continuously wipe out enemy units by itself. With its first effect, when a player declared an attack, it could destroy any spirit with less power than it, and then when it did defeat a spirit in actual battle, its rush effect would activate if the player had a green spirit and inflict damage to the opponent's life. This made the evil Barney synergize well with its corresponding Sword Brave, which let it pick which enemy it wanted to attack. Thus, and even though Tsurugi could have won with a direct attack since Vargas didn't have any blockers, he chose to attack the Grand Woden. In the meta sense, it was obviously meant to show off the new cards in the starter deck, but in terms of the show, Tsurugi was just kind of flexing. Regardless, DT's aforementioned effect ended the battle. Afterwards, Vargas was finally able to peacefully pass on after learning Tsurugi's intentions of uniting the world by mastering both of his eyes and acquiring the Sword of Judgment. With that, the episode ended with some more of the Red Rebel Army appearing kind of out of nowhere to pledge their loyalty to the Second Prince. When I originally watched this series, this was one of my favorite episodes because I just thought it was a great change of pace. Seeing a character acquire new dark powers without becoming stereotypically evil was just refreshing to see. Helps that Tsurugi's Dark Sword Eye cards are just plain cool. Of course, now I think I actually like the episodes that built up to this a little more through the power of hindsight, but at the same time, this was still a really smart little twist. One thing I think this card game franchise does better than some others is integrating the product into the story of its anime. There was always going to be a point where they would release a starter deck for the Red Sword Eye of Darkness, and while it certainly could have gone to a brand new character in this show, from a story and marketing standpoint, it actually does make a lot of sense to have the main character use it. Tsurugi's whole arc in the show has been a journey of trying to understand all sides of the conflict. Not just the idealistic side of light, but also the very pragmatic dark side. Hell, throughout the series, we've seen that, for the most part, the Eyes of Darkness aren't necessarily bad people, but rather ones who just so happen to have different perspectives than the assigned protagonists of the story. And sure, while they had aggressive methods of maintaining peace, they were getting the job done at least. Neither side was completely correct in their methods, so for an actual hero to arise, he needed to have two sets of eyes in the literal and figurative sense. Tsurugi attaining an Eye of Darkness was a satisfying payoff to all of this, narratively and aesthetically, as come on, a giant evil T-Rex who stabs its enemies with a giant tail sword is just plain awesome. Plus, it is just cool to see the main character change up his archetype, as while it did have some overlay, the Dark deck obviously plays vastly different than his Light deck, showing his flexibility as a player. Meanwhile, Vargas was just a cool one-episode mentor who was meant to set up some obvious twists for later. It's effective storytelling regardless, and overall, this was a great start to Tsurugi's next arc of the series. For him, having double vision is actually a good thing, and not something he needed glasses for. Thank you for watching, and be sure to look forward to some of our other videos on this channel. Right now, we're just kind of slowing things down while we're waiting on other shows and projects to start. Don't worry though, there's probably going to be a lot of good stuff to come once summer rolls around. And until then though, for now my friends, and
did somebody mention the door to darkness?
Yeah, Mickey, I might be able to take you a little bit more seriously if you were out of that emo cult.